Hello everybody, it's me, Alex Axe, and it's Monday, January 22nd. See, I totally know what day it is. And I'm home because it snowed over the weekend, which is super awesome because we need the moisture, and it was like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 inches, which is enough to basically shut down most of the outdoor construction in the city unless they're like super eager to get going, and then they have to like, you know, get out there and like scrape all the snow off and everything. And my guys just didn't want to do that today apparently, so I'm at home and passing the time getting things done that I did not do over the weekend. Because like I worked on Saturday and then Sunday I was just like, I'm done. Like I need a mental health day. So I basically spent all day yesterday sitting on the couch and binge watching Criminal Minds. So I like finished season 12, and there was so much screaming involved between me and my housemate Karina. And then we were like so desperate to get some kind of like closure on season 12 that we actually just ponied up for the CBS streaming service, because it was like, okay, fine, we're gonna do this anyway because we've been wanting to watch Star Trek Discovery. So then we watched a little more of that, and we watched the first 2 episodes of Discovery, and that was basically my whole day, was just sitting on the couch and watching TV and doing crochet with a cat in my lap. And honestly, I really needed it, because I mean, the job I've been on for like the last week is not really intellectually demanding in any way, because it's, you know, I whined about it some already, where it's just literally I sit around and I watch people put rocks in a hole or lay pavers or do, you know, other not terribly exciting things. But the problem is I'm on my feet constantly. So last week in 4 days, I walked 35 miles. Actually, no, it's more than that, because then I also had Saturday, and I walked like 10 miles on Saturday, just trying to keep myself warm and awake and moving, because your options are either sit on concrete, which makes my back hurt pretty fast, or stand, which is not great, or walk, which is also not great, but better than just like standing in one place. And I'm sorry, my hair is just like a disaster today, because, you know, I went out just long enough to have a hat on. So anyway, Sunday was a mental health day, and I desperately needed it, so I'm glad that I did that, and I recommend mental health days for you too if you need them. So it's Monday, and I realized, like I said, yeah, I know there's like a light thing. Light, it's natural light, who would have thought? But I remember saying I was going to do like book Mondays, and I did it once, and then I kind of didn't do it again, because last week I was so tired almost every day that I barely did any vlogs, or, you know, basically I got home and whined at my housemates and then lay on the couch until it was time to go to bed, and that was my life last week. And it's probably going to be about like that this week once work starts up again. So, and anyway, so book Monday. So I can tell you, like, so the books that I've finished recently, because I didn't tell you about all the ones I finished recently that I wanted to talk about, because I didn't, if nothing else, I didn't mention The Cooking Gene by Michael W. Twitty, which I have been reading this book forever, because I read nonfiction books just incredibly slowly for some reason. I don't know why. And it was mainly, I was reading it when I was at the gym, because I was reading it on my Nook. But it's a really, really good book. It's basically like a history of Southern cooking and how it was intertwined with slavery, and basically the relationship of slavery with food, and this also incredibly personal, emotional narrative about him searching for the roots of his family, which is not an easy prospect when, you know, a lot of your ancestors were enslaved and people weren't keeping very good records. So it's really, really good and heartfelt, and made me get teary, and there's also some really amazing looking recipes in there, except I don't really cook, but, you know, maybe I'll get someone to make them for me at some point. So like that one I really recommend, and it's definitely like, it's not a strike on the book that it took me forever to read it. Like I said, I just read nonfiction really, really, really slowly. I also finished listening to SHADOWHOUSE FALL as an audiobook. That one's by Daniel Jose Older. and I cannot currently remember who the narrator was, and I'm not going to stop this video to go look it up, but she is also super fantastic. And like, that's the second book in the series, and it's kind of like a YA series, and there's like this really interesting like magical politics and factions and urban fantasy in an urban fantasy setting, and those I've been really enjoying, so I'm looking forward to when the next book in the series comes out. And the ending was definitely not anything that I expected, so I totally recommend that. And the first book as well, whose title I can't remember, so I'll put it in the notes because I want to keep saying it's Shadow House Rules, but that's fucking Cider House Rules, and that's not actually the title of the first book. I'm just a terrible person and I didn't write it on my list. I also like I have done a lot of reading Twitter and reading library books on my phone over the last week, because a lot of times it's been cold enough that my Nook won't work. And then when I haven't been reading like fiction, I've been reading more of the Lewis and Clark book, which is, because it's nonfiction, I'm reading it incredibly slowly and it's frustrating, but you know, I'm slowly getting there. But I finished reading this romance novel called True Pretenses by Rose Lerner, which is the second in a series. But I mean, most of the time when you have a romance series, you can start wherever you want in it, and it doesn't really matter, because it's just basically like, oh, by in a series, it means they're all in the same place, and you'll have characters get mentioned, or events that happened previously get mentioned, but if you didn't read the previous books, you're fine. And this is, you know, so the first one I really enjoyed. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so mad at myself that I can't remember the name of any of these first books. I'll just do better the next book Monday we have. This is a work in progress. I'll put it in the notes. Anyway, so like this one was okay, but I didn't whip through it the way I whipped through the first one. I think it's just because I didn't really, like, you know, the characters were okay, and I'm glad they lived happily ever after, but I wasn't really, like, that personally interested in either of them, if that makes sense. But I mean, Rose Lerner's not bad, and it's, hers kind of go a little differently from some of, you know, formulaically from some of the other romances I've been reading, so that's enjoyable. And then I also read this Courtney Milan novella called Her Every Wish, which is like a side novella for her Worth saga, which starts with Once Upon a Marcus. I did remember that. And I really liked that first book, and this one I also really enjoyed, because that I really like the characters. So I think my enjoyment of romance, like a given romance book, is just really dependent on the buy-in I have on the characters, which kind of makes sense because they're so incredibly character driven. So that's what I've finished and can talk about. What I am currently reading, I always have an audiobook going that I can listen to while I'm driving, or in the other case, it's listen to while I'm walking in circles on a construction site. I mean, I will note, as a safety thing, I am nowhere near where, so, you know, I could be in danger of walking into machinery. I actually, my little space where I walk around to keep myself warm is like completely isolated from anything that could possibly drop on my head and kill me. So I just want to make that clear. So I'm currently reading as an audiobook Who Killed Sherlock Holmes by Paul Cornell, and that is the third in the series. They're like these urban fantasy mysteries set in London, and you're with this police group that's kind of trying to figure out things with the supernatural stuff and like police it, and there's like some overriding mystery to go, like a meta mystery that goes over the regular mystery, and I've been enjoying them a lot. Like the previous book, The Severed Streets, has Neil Gaiman in it as a character, which I'm not going to spoil that for you, but it was really interesting. And, you know, it's fun. There's some stuff where you can tell, like, he's basically writing modern day as it's kind of happening, with, you know, certain details changed to protect the innocent and or guilty. So they're fun books if you like kind of urban fantasy mystery. They're pretty, like, kind of dark and gritty and brutal at times, though. So keep that in mind. I just got Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff out, and I only just started reading that, so I don't really have an opinion about it yet, other than I'm looking forward to reading more. You know, the prose is really readable and the concept's interesting. Because basically you just start out with a guy, an African-American man driving from Florida to Chicago, and he has a thing called the Safe Negro Travel Guide, and there's racism because of, you know, it's the Jim Crow era. So that's like just the little portion that I've read so far. You know, I haven't even gotten more than maybe 30 pages into it, because I hit the weekend and sat on the couch. Let's see, I'm also reading She-Wolf and Cub by Lilith St. Crow, and that one is definitely like, it's, you know, very cyberpunk. It is probably the most cyberpunk book, like, that I felt was genuinely gritty cyberpunk and really feels right about it that I've read since the last William Gibson novel I read, to be honest, because I've read a lot of stuff that's kind of like sort of cyberpunk, but it's not really, it doesn't have that certain cyberpunk something, and this really does. And I'm like about halfway through with this one, and it's really good, and I also just love, every time I look at it, I keep thinking of, you know, the manga series Lone Wolf and Cub, which I freaking love. And, you know, if you haven't read Lone Wolf and Cub, it's excellent and beautiful, and, you know, the dialogue is very spare because it doesn't have to have a lot of words to it. It's just, it's a gorgeous manga series, and it's been translated, and you get them in these little, like, paperback editions. And then the final book that I'm reading, yes, I'm reading like 4 books, technically 5 if you count the Lewis and Clark book as we speak. Oh dear. Okay, the cat. Oh, if you hear that, that's just my cat singing to the birds because he would like to eat them. So the last one I'm currently reading is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and that's another one where I'm like 2 to 3 chapters in, and it's kind of got YA pacing for the most part, where shit is like happening fast, and we just got to one of the first big like oh crap events. So I'm looking forward to reading more of that. It's just, you know, when I'm in a position to read an actual paper book and I'm not making myself read about Lewis and Clark because I need to write a thing so someone will pay me money. But so that's kind of like where I'm at right now, and hopefully by next week I will have finished some stuff and I can talk about it. So tell me what you're reading and if you're enjoying it. And then I figured I'd also tell you like books that I just picked up that are currently like in the waiting pile. The final novel in the Binti, or novella in the Binti series by Nnedi Okorafor just came out, Binti the Night Masquerade. I've got that now, I just need to read it. I just checked out The Year of the Crocodile by Courtney Milan. That's a novella that's in her Cyclone series, which is like, you know, almost everything she's written has been Regency romance, but the Cyclone series is modern, and I'm really enjoying those too. Let's see, so far it's Trade Me and Hold Me are the 2 in that series, and I like Hold Me better than Trade Me just because, again, I like the characters better, and Hold Me is pretty cool because the woman is a trans woman, and she's just delightful and, you know, unapologetically feminine and just a glorious character, and, you know, I like the guy that she gets with because he's a jerk-ass physics professor. And then I also just got Star Wars from a Certain Point of View out from the library because I had it on hold, so it got checked out to me on Overdrive. And we'll see how much of that I actually read because, to be honest, I'm not that into short stories, so I'm probably not going to try to, like, read them all at once. Maybe I'll try to, like, you know, get in a couple between other things and read it that way, and maybe I'll have more success than I've had with reading other anthologies. So that's where and I just bought Flim Flam and an Encyclopedia of Claims, Frauds, and Hoaxes of the Occult and Supernatural by James Randi. They're 2 different books. And those I am not going to be reading cover to cover. I bought them as research material for a different project that I'm going to write that hopefully I'm going to get paid money for. So that's this week in books, with 2.5 minutes of me whining about my job. So tell me what you're reading, or if you have recommendations for me or anything like that, and I will talk to you later.